One thing that can be said with certainty about all humans is we each have our own unique blend of preferences and opinions, impulses, desires, things that just drive us and make us the unique person that we are. Now, one of the healthiest characteristics that you can have as you engage with other individuals is you want to know how to blend well with other people, and so you want to be able to pull out the characteristic of self-restraint. You see, there are times when I do have my preferences, but you have yours. There are times when I know what I think is right, but then you have your times when you think you're right and maybe a little bit different. We may be in the middle of conflict and we need to do a lot of hearing and listening and sifting out with one another. And so we need to show self-restraint in those kind of moments. Now, I mentioned that this video is called A Major Skill That Narcissists Simply Just Cannot Learn. Narcissists have great difficulty with the characteristic of self-restraint. I'll give you an idea how it works. I had a couple that I was talking with, and the husband and the wife were discussing how critical of a person he was, and she just constantly felt like she could never measure up. And so this husband's saying, I know, I need to stop doing that, and I need to do a much better job. And so they're talking about some other things. Well, within 5 minutes, he's criticizing her. And she's over there looking at me like, do you see what I'm saying? And when we pointed it out, it's like, oh, I forgot about that, or I didn't see it. He just could not have that sense of self-restraint. Or another situation, and this is one where many families have this, or social groups. This one guy was talking about how he had strong opinions about public policy and things of that nature. And he said, I know that whenever I get around other people, my family and my friends, I just need to kind of keep my mouth shut because everybody has different opinions. And yet the next time I talk to him, he says, well, I did it again. I got pulled into a debate and I just couldn't stop myself because these other individuals over there were just saying things that I couldn't say, and it turned out really bad. Self-restraint was required, but he couldn't do it. It's like, well, I know that I need to, but I just can't make myself hold back. So what's going on? Again, I go back and say we need to have a sense of blending. Let's keep in mind that there are 7 billion of us on this planet, and none of us think the same way. None of us react the same way. And so to think that you want to superimpose your mannerisms on someone else is pure arrogance, which is kind of where the narcissist is coming from. Why is it that narcissists have such a deep inability to have this characteristic of self-restraint? Now, several thoughts. Number one, narcissists have this insatiable need to be right more than anything else. You know, when you have self-restraint, it's like, well, I need to be inclusive or I need to be a good listener. It's like, no, I'm going to be right. And when they notice somebody being wrong, according to their definition, they just can't stop themselves. They have to correct other individuals. Number two, narcissists have a strong inability to receive input. Like that guy when you say to him, you know, you need to pull back on that criticism. Or that other man, it's like, let's see if we can hold off on some of those opinions that in the grand scheme of things, you don't have to just foist on other individuals. When you give input, it's like, you know, over time, it's going to prove to be empty because they just don't receive it. They may receive it in the short term, but long term, they don't have the depth of thought that allows them to say, I'm going to take it, claim it, own it, and do something with it. It's just not in there. A third reason that narcissists have difficulty in having self-restraint is their unwillingness to consider uniquenesses in circumstances. I just mentioned that every one of us is different. Variety is built into all of nature, including human nature. But the narcissists, in their arrogance, they think, well, you may have your varied thoughts and preferences, etc., but you need to be more like me. And so rather than celebrating your uniquenesses or just accepting the reality of it, it's like, no, they want conformity. They want to make you think the way they say it ought to be. Now, a fourth thought, and this is not a shocker, another reason they have poor self-restraint is they don't have empathy. Rather than thinking, where's this person coming from? And I know there's a backstory in whatever it is you're telling me, or whatever kind of thoughts or feelings or needs are represented in the way that you're acting. Who are you? And how can I know you better from your vantage point? That's what empathy is. It's like, I don't need to know you. You need to know me. You need to understand me, but I don't feel the need to understand you. And so there's a superimposing without a reciprocal effort to allow other individuals to say, well, let me share with you who I am. A fifth reason self-restraint is difficult is, I'm stating the obvious, narcissists already have an inflated ego. It's like, well, in the room here, that if we have 2 of us or 5 of us or 50 of us, I'm probably the smartest one here, or I'm probably the one that has the better perspective, or my needs or my preferences are a little bit different from everyone else. And they honestly have this sense of specialness, which actually represents their insecurity, that says, I'm just different from everyone else. And so the rules that apply to all the rest of you poor slobs out there don't apply to me. Or a sixth reason that they have poor self-restraint. They have an over need to take credit for success. Now, what I mean by that is they want to see themselves as being a little bit better, and they're smart and they're accomplished. And so because of that, it's like, well, I know I probably need to listen to you, but if you'll just notice how successful my life is and how well I do things, I think you'll see that if I interrupt you or if I push my agenda on you, it's for a good cause. Then you can be just as good as me. Now, sometimes this is on a subconscious level, but that's the way they come across. And then how about a final reason? And that is narcissists have an insatiable need to blame other individuals for whatever strain and difficulty there might be in a relationship. Part of self-restraint is shown especially in difficulty or conflict. If someone is angry at me or disagrees with me, my healthiness would come forward as I would say, all right, I want to hear what you have to say. With a narcissist, if you have a conflict and there's a discussion that needs to ensue, it's like, why do you always have to make my life miserable? Look what you're doing, and you did this and you did that, and so they go straight into the blame mode. They just simply can't be objective. Now, in doing so, in having this lack of self-restraint, narcissists, I think, are just kind of oblivious to the fact that they create a lot of pain in relationships. They perpetuate strain and tension and conflict. And as a result, some of the byproducts of their lack of self-restraint is they tend to be very shaming. They can often use ridicule or threats and accusations, sarcasm, telling people what to do, unsolicited advice. And in that lack of self-restraint, they just simply tend to be kind of a cancer, if you will, to relationship growth. Now, let's contrast this with some much healthier ways that we can do relationships. Now, when we talk about having healthy self-restraint, one of the first things we're going to say is, let's make sure that we can see all sides as much as humanly possible to relationships. If I feel one way and you feel another, if I have a preference and you have a separate one, well, this is going to make our relationship interesting, because maybe by knowing you more fully, I can grow and stretch and I can be a better person. We can learn how to blend well. In other words, self-restraint means we have a sense of fair-mindedness and are willing to be open and to learn from one another. In self-restraint, you are committed to steadiness. Now, this is especially true in conflict. The unrestrained person, they're not steady at all. They're very mercurial. They go up and down and back and forth, and it's like, good grief, nobody can stop you. Whereas the self-restrained person says, wait a minute, I've got my emotions, I have my opinions, but I also want to be known as somebody that can be objective and fair-minded in the way that I engage. Another part of true healthy self-restraint is that you're invested not so much in right versus wrong outcomes, although I like being right and I have opinions about right and wrong, but instead you're invested in true listening. And you want to create an atmosphere so that connection can be found, and some goodness and decency can be found. And it's amazing that as you emphasize those kinds of healthy ingredients, then right and wrong can emerge more naturally among the people that would be involved. That's a thought that's completely lost on narcissists. In addition, with self-restraint, you're not a judgmental person. So much of the lack of self-restraint that narcissists has is based on their judgmental attitudes. You're bad, you're no good, you're terrible, and I have to come in there and fix you and save you from your ridiculous kind of ways. Or sometimes if they have schemes that they want to do, they want to go do this and spend money and do things impetuously. It's like, I'm good, you're bad, my ideas are okay, your ideas are not. There's a judgmental mindset. I'm right, you're wrong. Self-restrained individuals don't feel the need to do that. I'm hoping that you can see that your capacity for self-restraint is a direct byproduct of good character. Narcissists who are impetuous, who are pushy, who are impulsive, and they just can't slow themselves down, reveal that there's not a real strong sense of character on the inside that they're drawing upon. It's just a me driven approach toward life. Good character is founded in my three qualities that I like to emphasize. Dr. C, DRC, stands for dignity, respect, and civility. And when you're anchored in characteristics like that, self-restraint becomes a much more natural byproduct. So when that narcissistic individual has all of these notions and things that they just want to run with, and they don't really care about who you are, it illustrates you're not going to have a close relationship with them. It's not going to be something that's going to be fulfilling for you. You're probably going to have to pull back and minimize some of your expectations. Sometimes their lack of self-restraint, particularly with anger and harshness and meanness, can get so strong that you just need to be away from them. In the meantime, though, I'm hoping that you can have that good character that says, I know who I am, and I'm going to live with purpose and meaning. And that's something a narcissist can't do, but I stand for decency. Can you think like that? I hope so. Let's all see if we can do that. And in doing so, we're going to bring more people onto Team Healthy. Now, I do hope that you get benefit from videos such as this. If you've not already done so, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button. It may be that you could use some counseling. In my career, this is something that I do, of course, and I encourage people as they have the need to sift things out to seek someone out. And if you don't have someone in your immediate area, we have vetted an online counseling service. There's a link beneath the video here that would take you there. I stand for goodness, and I want to make sure that people are able to sift through their own internal issues and tensions so that they can get to that place of goodness. And so if the online counseling is something you might use, just know we have that resource available to you. In addition, we have our websites, survivingnarcissism.tv, and we have a lot of things that are on there. I'd encourage you to go there, drlescarter.com. We have a link below to our library that takes you to our books. We have online video workshops, lots of stuff there. Self-restraint. That's a good characteristic for you to have, and I hope that's something you can live into. And as you do, I'm hoping that you'll be known as the person that is the steady one in the group, and that being the case, you become a giver of peace.